Yeah. Please, come to the front. Alright, so Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum everyone. We're gonna start soon. We got a good speaker here today, Aman from US. If you look at the poster, we use his name because Aman means peace, and also Islam means peace. So that's why we had that title called Peace is Here Today. So I think it's quite appropriate. And I think everyone's excited to listen to your story because Muslim lives in America and two different things. I think when you look at it, the lifestyle and all that, practices are the same, but lifestyle would be different based on the environment. So anyway, without further ado, Aman, please.
Thank you very much. I think is this power plug work? We got a low battery and I plugged it now.
Yeah, it's okay. It was working.
It says it's not working. Working earlier.
You want, yeah.
Is it plugged in? Alright. Well, while you guys work on that, tell you guys a little bit about myself. My name is Aman. I'm a stand-up comedian. I live in New York City. And to tell you about my life and my upbringing, I was raised by a very small, traditional, Indian, conservative Muslim household, where we define marriage as strictly between a man and a cousin. And where I went to school, I was literally the only non-white person in the entire school. So it was really hard for me to fit in school, especially during holiday season. Like all the Christian kids, they would have like a Christmas tree and they would decorate them with all these lights and presents. And all the Jewish kids for Hanukkah, they would have all these candles that would light the menorah. But I'm Muslim. What am I supposed to do for Eid? Bring a dead lamb to school? Like, hey guys, look, it's fresh. Can't do that. And so it was really hard to fit in. And my parents made things a lot even harder. So like I said, my family came from India, and they were always supportive of everything I did. They just have a different way of showing that support. Like growing up, I played a lot of sports. I played a lot of football. And so other kids, when they played football, their parents would be like, all right, Ryan, you can do it. Daddy loves you. Keep the ball. Hooray! My family was more like, I don't know, stupid! I didn't want you to throw like a girl! My grandma stopped coming to my games. It's not even so mean. And when I was a little kid, I thought my family was doing that to embarrass me. But I didn't realize until I got older that they were just trying to teach me that, Aman, be proud of who you are. Be proud of your culture. Be proud of being Muslim. Be proud of your heritage and everything about you. Don't let anybody make you feel weird or different. And I didn't realize they were doing that until I got a little bit older. Like I remember I was about 15 years old in high school, and I was on the wrestling team. That's not the funny part. I wrestled in school, and I grew up in a very small town, all-white town, and I was at this wrestling tournament, and I made it to the championship match. And the person that I had to wrestle in the championship match was a girl. And I had never wrestled a girl before, so I didn't know what to do in this situation. And so I was like, okay, let me just play the Muslim card, and I'll get out of this. So I came up to her, and I was like, hi. See, I'm a Muslim male, and you're a female, and out of respect for the opposite gender, culturally, it might be a little awkward if we were to wrestle. It's not forbidden in my religion, anything like that. It's just culturally, out of respect and personal space and boundaries, this might be a little awkward. But again, this is a small town in Ohio, in the middle of America, where I grew up. And so I told her I was Muslim, and she's like, wow, you're a Muslim? That's so cool. I'm a Sagittarius. So she didn't know what a Muslim was. She didn't understand. My coach didn't understand. He's like, Aman, what's the big deal? Just wrestle her. And I was like, fine. And so I tried to wrestle her. And for some reason, I made wudu before the match. I don't know why. I made wudu before fighting a girl. So I tried to wrestle her. And it was just like too awkward. I was like, man, I can't do this. This is just weird. And so I just went ahead and I just let her win the match. Yeah, I let her win the match, right? So I lost. And I was freaking out. But thankfully, my parents weren't there. Because if mom and dad saw me lose to a girl, they made fun of me for the rest of my life. Unfortunately, I have 4 brothers, and they were all there at the match. And so we're in the car that night, and I'm in the car begging them. I was like, all right, guys, please, whatever you do, do not tell mom and dad that I just lost to a girl. You know what they're going to do. Please, please, please don't tell them. And my brother, he's driving. He's like, man, we would never do that. We're your bros, man. We love you, dude. We got you. Your secret is safe with us. Don't worry about it. Tell nobody. And so the next day, I'm getting ready to go to school, and I can't find my house keys anywhere. I'm looking all over the house for my house keys, and I'm like, where are my house keys? And I'm running late for school. So I go to my mom. I was like, Mommy, Mom, where are my house keys? I gotta go to school. Where are my keys? And I'll never forget this. My mom, at the top of the stairs, goes, Aman, I have your house keys. But if you want them back, you need to wrestle me first. That's your story. So yeah, I love sports. I'm a big sports fan. I like football. I like cricket. I like a lot of sports. I like a lot of basketball too. Anybody fans of basketball? Any basketball fans here? Maybe not. A few? Okay. You don't have to be a fan of basketball. That's cool. Anybody remember this guy named Hakeem Olajuwon? Right? Muslim or not, one of the greatest athletes to ever play basketball. He was incredible. And I remember when I was 9 years old. I was a little kid, and Ramadan just started. And Ramadan was here, and my mom said, okay, Aman, it's Ramadan. You're 9 years old. It's time for you to start fasting. And I was like, hold up. Mom, you mean to tell me that I have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go the entire day, no cookies, no potato chips, no fruit snacks, no soda, all the way till 9 o'clock at night? No way, I'm not doing that, I'm out. No, thank you. And so that night, I was watching basketball. And they did a story of Hakeem Olajuwon on how he was fasting during the championship match. And that night, he scored 49 points. I'm like, Mom, wake me up tomorrow for Fudge, I'm fasting. So Hakeem Olajuwon was like my guy, he was my hero. And so I became an adult, and I became a performer, and I got the opportunity to meet all these cool, incredible Muslim heroes of mine that I looked up to, but I never got a chance to meet Hakeem Olajuwon. So he lives in Houston, Texas, in the South. And I've been to Houston plenty of times, and I was delusional. I would go to Houston. If I had a show in Houston on Friday, I'd fly into town on like Tuesday. Maybe I might run into him, who knows. And this would happen every single time. Somebody would be like, oh man, you did Jummah prayer at that masjid? You missed Hakeem Olajuwon, he was at the masjid down the street. Oh man, you're leaving Saturday. Hakeem Olajuwon's doing an event in town on Sunday. Every single time this would happen. 17 times, not that I'm keeping track. And so, I was so frustrated, I never got a chance to meet him. And then recently, my mother and I, we did Hajj not too long ago. Any Hajjis here? Any Hajjis? Anybody done Hajj? Okay, inshallah you get an opportunity too. And so, I mean, obviously we see videos and we see photos on social media. And so, Hajj is so beautiful, right? Literally millions of people from all different colors of the rainbow, all coming together as one ummah, one nation, brotherhood and sisterhood, we're all together. And so I'm there with my mom, and I'm just like, wow, look at all these people from all these different places. This is incredible. We're all sisters and brothers together. And so I'm there, and my mom was praying. I was waiting for her to finish. And I'm just standing there waiting for her. And I look. Do I need a mic? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm standing there, and I'm waiting for my mom to finish praying. And I look out of the corner of my eye. It's Hakeem Olajuwon! I'm like, Allah's answered my prayers! He's here in the Hajj! And I'm getting so excited. I'm like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And then I'm like, oh man, he's probably used to like fans coming up to him, asking for pictures and autographs. I shouldn't bother him. He's here on Hajj. He's not here for that. He's here to get away from that. But then I'm like, when else am I ever going to have a chance to meet Hakeem Olajuwon? I'll just say salams to him, and I'll leave him alone. This is my 8 Mile moment. I only get one shot, one opportunity. I gotta say something. And so I come up to him, and I never get starstruck or nervous, but I got super nervous around him. And I was like, hi. Assalamu alaikum. And I just started crying for like no reason at all. I was like, I just wanted to tell you that I grew up in an all-white town in Ohio, and people used to make fun of me for being Muslim, and I used to feel ashamed to be a Muslim, but then I saw you being proud to be a Muslim, and that made me proud to be a Muslim, and I don't know if I would have done any of the things in my life, in my career, if it wasn't for you. And I know this sounds crazy coming from a total stranger, but I just needed to tell you that I love you, and thank you for everything that you've done for me. And he's patting me on the back as I'm crying. And I'm like, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And that's when I realized it wasn't Hakeem Olajuwon. It was just a tall Nigerian guy. That's a true story. I love jokes though. I love telling stories. I love jokes because telling stories and laughter, it's a great way to bring people together, right? Especially during times like this, 2019, we live in very divisive times. People are always mad at each other and this and that. And I love humor because it's a way to bring people together, to make everybody laugh, to bring people together. My grandmother used to always say, a day without laughter is a day wasted. And so I always loved that. And when I was a little kid, I still remember the first joke that I ever made. I was 7 years old. And I was at one of these Islamic camps where it's like out in the woods and you learn about Islam. It's not ISIS, I swear. It was just like a religious camp that I went to when I was a kid. And so I'm at this place and I'm at this camp. And we're in the woods in this wood cabin. We're inside, and inside my cabin were these 2 kids that were Pakistani. They were brothers, and the other kid was Palestinian. He was Arab. And the reason why I mentioned where they're from was this. Do we have any Indian Pakistani people here? A couple people? Indian Pakistani? Nobody? No. That's fine. So I'll explain something in Indian and Pakistani culture. The word we use to call our oldest brother is Baijan, right? It's just a word of respect to call our oldest brother. Baijan. Can you guys say Baijan with me? Right. Baijan is just a word of respect to call our oldest brother. So the younger brother starts talking to the older brother, and he's like, Baijan, when are we going to sleep? Baijan, when are we going to play outside? Baijan, what time is the lecture? Bye, John. What time is dinner? Bye, John. Bye, John. Bye, John. Bye, John. Bye, bye, John. So the Palestinian kid, he's Arab, and they don't have that word in his culture. So he's confused. He's like, who's Bye, John? I thought his name is Muhammad. Why are you calling your brother Bye, John? What's that about? So the Pakistani kids, they explain. They're like, yes, his name is Muhammad, but in our family, we just call him Bye, John. It's just a word in our culture that we call our oldest brother out of respect. Bye, John. So now the Palestinian kid is even more confused. He's like, but Allah gave him such a beautiful name, Muhammad. Why call him Bye, John? It's just a cultural thing. It's just a thing in our culture. Just a small cultural thing. Like, well, that's so stupid. Your culture's so stupid. Your culture's so stupid. So now the Pakistani kids are getting really mad. They're like, don't call our culture stupid. You're stupid. So now the Palestinian kids are like, oh yeah? Well, your culture's stupid. Your country's stupid. And both of you guys are stupid. And so now the Pakistani kids are getting really mad. They're like, don't call our country stupid. Don't call us stupid. Oh yeah? Well, you're Palestinian. At least we actually have a real country. What kind of 7-year-old racist stuff is that? So clearly these kids from KKK Karachi are saying the most hateful, racist stuff, and now a fight is about to break out between these kids. And they start fighting, and I get in the middle, and I'm like, guys, stop it. Enough, please. Can we just let bygones be bygones? Some of you guys are like, where's this story going? I'm so confused. Oh, I just fell down. Oh man. What else to talk about? So yeah, I was born and raised in America, and my family came from India. Probably about 30 or 40 years ago, before I was born in the 70s. And the word I use to describe my family, you guys have the word flop, fresh off the boat? You guys have the word in Malaysia? Ever heard the word fresh off the boat? Some of you guys? So that's my parents, they were fresh off the boat. But when I say fresh off the boat, let's just say they never got off the boat. They just brought on land with them, like, India's coming with us. Let's go. India's coming. India's in America. What is the thing? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being proud of your culture, proud of your heritage, proud of who you are. There's nothing wrong with that. But they would tell me things that they said were a part of Islam, but it was actually a part of the culture. And that was always confusing to me, because I never knew what was a part of Islam and what was a part of the culture. Like, did any of you have superstitions in your house, like weird things your family would say? You have something like, you're nodding your head, like what kind of things do you have in your house?
Something like Soviet things happen.
So many examples, like, do you have an example? Anybody else have any examples they want to share?
When there's an owl making noises, don't comment on it, because it's a bad omen.
It's a bad omen?
Yeah.
So it's like a demon, so you can't talk about an owl. Wow. I'm not like making fun, I just find it so silly. Like, people have the most interesting superstition. Anybody else have any superstitions in your house? Did your parents say something you can't do because something evil will happen? Like, do you remember which one? You have one?
Go ahead,
Sure.
I think the locals, they've got quite a lot of superstition.
Yeah,
the local Malays, they have a lot of superstition. I'm not just that.
Yeah. Well, what kind of superstition do you have? Anybody?
You can't cook while singing.
You can't comb while singing? Well, I never have to worry about that. Oh, you can't cook while singing? Why not?
Because you will get married.
You'll get married? I need to start cooking. I was like, I got to wait. I got to start making some sandwiches and nothing like.
And another one they have is...
Wait, so you can't cook, or somebody will marry you?
No, I'm married.
You'll get married to an older person? That's so interesting.
It's so weird.
All those 15-year-old kids are like, yeah, I gotta start cooking. Yeah.
You want better.
You have...
While you're eating, don't move midway.
Yes.
You'll be marrying another one.
Yes.
So you have 4 wives by the time you're eating dinner. You just gotta make dinner like that. I've been doing this wrong the whole time.
It's pretty good, that one.
I like that. Who needs Tinder when you have nasi lemak like this? Just cook. And he's like, oh, I should have just made some food. Anybody else have superstitions? All right. So I had one growing up in my house, and I didn't really know anything about it. So in my house, I was 8 years old, and my family and I, we just finished praying Maghrib. And I left the prayer rug, I didn't fold it. I didn't fold it up, I didn't put it away. And my mom grabs me by my ear and goes, Aman, if you don't fold the prayer rug, Shaitan is going to pray on me! And I'm 8 years old. I don't know who Shaitan is. I thought some guy is trying to get into our house like, where's the prayer rug? Where's the prayer rug? Oh man, they folded it. I know who Shaitan was. I thought it was like a French football player like, go my Shaitan! I know who that was. And so my mom would always talk about Shaitan coming to the house. She'd be like, Aman, if you don't do your homework, Shaitan is coming to the house. Aman, if you don't eat your breakfast, Shaitan is going to come and get you. Aman, if you don't go to sleep, Shaitan is coming in your dreams. So she kept talking about this guy, Shaitan, coming to our house. So I called the police. Well, like, true story. I called the police, and I was like, hello, police, you need to help me. There's somebody breaking into our house. Someone's coming to our house. What did he look like? Oh, I didn't see him, but I have a name. I have a name. His name is Shaitan. What's his last name? Oh, I don't think he has a last name. He's kind of like Madonna. So the police, they hang up on me. They don't want to help me. So I was like, I gotta do something. This guy Shaitan keeps breaking into our house. I gotta do something. And so I came up with this master plan. So my best friend, Jonathan Dixon, I was over at his house. We were watching TV. And we start flipping through the channels, and all these old movies were coming on TV. And the movie Ghostbusters, you guys remember that movie Ghostbusters? The original Ghostbusters, where all these heroes have to capture these monsters and ghosts. And I can start coming up with ideas. I'm like, Jonathan, here's the plan. So Jonathan, the next day, spent the night at my house. And while everybody was sleeping upstairs, we went downstairs and we took all the prayer rugs and we rolled them across the floor. And then we hid behind a chair with a stick and a bat. Very sophisticated plan. And so we sat there and we're waiting and we're waiting and we're hiding and we're waiting and we're waiting. And after a while, nothing's happening. And so we were waiting for like an hour and I had to use the bathroom. And I said, okay, Jonathan, take the stick, take the bat. You know what to do in case Shaitan comes. I'll be right back. And so I give him the stick. And I go inside the washroom. And I finish up. And as I'm washing my hands in the washroom, all of a sudden I hear, ah! Aman! I got him! It was my dad. So there's my dad just knocked out, laying on the floor. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Dad? You're Shaitan? That's a true story. So that was my story. That was my story growing up. I grew up very confused about, very confused about my identity because I was born, my family's from India, and I'm proud of my heritage, I'm proud of my culture, but I'm not from India. I wasn't born there. So it feels weird calling myself Indian. And I was born in America, but I feel weird calling myself an American. What does that mean? Especially in 2019, it feels weird saying I'm an American. And yeah, I'm Muslim. I'm proud to be Muslim. It's important to who I am. But I don't like to be put into a box when it comes to being a Muslim. I don't like calling myself this kind of Muslim or that kind of Muslim or, liberal, conservative, progressive, this or Sufi, Salafi. I don't like all these terms. I'm just a Muslim. And so I hated all these labels. And so I never really knew who I was in terms of my own identity and my own story. And so, like I said, I grew up in Ohio. And I moved to New York City about 10 to 12 years ago. And I moved to New York, and I found out that in New York, there's a lot of Muslims. There's 1.2 million Muslims just in New York City. And during Ramadan one year, I was trying to find a masjid to pray. It was during Ramadan, and I found a website, and I typed a couple of addresses in, and on this website, when I typed my address, I found out that there's 257 masjids within 10 kilometers of my home. I was wow, look at all these masjids. This is really cool. So I came up with this plan with my friend. We were going down. I'm like, yo, wouldn't it be crazy if we went to 30 mosques in 30 days around New York City? And so we went to Facebook and we went to Twitter and we tweeted this out. And I said, hey, because the Muslim community in New York is so big, my friend and I are going to have iftar at a different masjid every single day. So that was the plan. Break our fast at a different masjid every day around New York City. And so when I posted that, my friends and all my family were like, oh man, that's so cool, you guys. You need a blog about this. You should start a blog about this. But then I'm like, why? Blogs are dumb. Like, I don't read blogs. Like, why would I want to write one? This is just a silly idea that I had. Who cares about this? And people kept saying, no, we want to see your experience. We want to see what you're doing. And I said, okay, fine. Like, this is just some silly idea. Like, I don't see why people find this interesting. Why don't people want to know these stories? And my friend kept insisting. So he said, I told my other buddy, I'm like, yo, let's just start this blog to shut my friend up. Like, let's just start it. So we launched the blog. That's the week before the baldness started kicking in. Thank you for laughing at my insecurities. And the funny thing was, I thought it was just my family and friends reading it. But then all of a sudden, we were getting emails from all over the world. Like, hey, I'm in Toronto, I love your blog. Or, hey, I'm in Brazil, I love your blog. Or, hey, I'm in China, we're big fans of your blog. Or, hey, we're in Luxembourg, and we read your blog every day. And I was like, I don't even know where Luxembourg is, but that's awesome that you're reading the blog. And so that was a really good experience we had. But then the next year, we wanted to change things up because we had a great time in New York, but we knew that our experience is not just isolated to New York, that across America, there's all these interesting communities across America that we could check out. And so I told my friend, I was like, hey, wouldn't it be even more crazy if we went to 30 states in 30 days across America? And so that's how that happened. And this is how this happened. But this was our map. We did about 25,000 kilometers of driving. Starting in New York, went up the coast, went up, and then all the way down to Florida, out to Texas, out to California, and then made our way back. Basically did an entire outline of the country. But there's a reason why I'm telling you this story. It has to do with the time we went to Montana. So where's Montana on the map? It's right here. Montana is a beautiful state in the United States. And literally wherever you go, it looks like a giant painting, like wherever you go. And so we're in the car that day, just enjoying how beautiful, seeing all these beautiful clouds and beautiful mountains and all these animals on the side of the highway. It was beautiful. So we're in the car, we're jamming to Selena Gomez, don't judge me. So we're in the car, and it's a beautiful day, and I see a little bit of garbage. I see a garbage bag on the road, this plastic bag, and I start driving over it. And boom! It turns out that it wasn't a garbage bag. It was actually a rock we ran over. And now smoke is coming out from the back of our car. And so I start freaking out because this is a rental vehicle. And so I pull over and I was like, all right, let's just let the car cool down and then we'll start it. So I let the car cool down, all the smoke clears, and it's not starting. I wait a few more minutes, still not starting. The car's completely dead. So I don't know what to do. And so I told my friend, I was like, all right, Aman, Bassam, let's just call, my friend's name is Bassam, and I was like, hey, let's just call a mechanic. We'll fix the car later, because right now, it's almost Maghrib time. We have to go to Montana to meet the Muslims, to break our fast, put up a blog post, because we need we're breaking our fast in a different place every day, so we can't waste any time. So we pull out our phones, try to call a mechanic, no cell phone service. So now we're stuck in these beautiful mountains in the middle of nowhere, and we don't have anywhere to go, and we don't know who to call for help, so we don't know what to do. So my friend Bassam comes up with this plan. He goes, okay, Aman, I got a plan. I'm going to wait for a car to pass by. I'm going to ask him to give me a ride. I'm going to go into town and get cell phone service. Once I get cell phone service, I'll call a mechanic. Once I call a mechanic, I'll come back and get you. And I'm like, okay, but what should I do? He said, well, I figured you can wait here by yourself in the mountains in the middle of nowhere where you can't call for help. I'm like, what a brilliant plan. I'll see you later. So he leaves, and I'm sitting in the car. He said he'd be 10 minutes. He said, I'll be back in like 10 minutes. It's right down the road. So I'm sitting in the car, 10 minutes becomes 20 minutes. 20 minutes becomes 30 minutes. 30 minutes becomes 40 minutes. 40 minutes becomes an hour. I'm like, where is this guy? He said it'd be 10 minutes. And so then I'm looking out the car, looking at the road. And all of a sudden, I see a bunch of deer and horses run across the highway. I'm like, what? And then, a few minutes after that, I saw a family of wolves run across the road. I was like, oh, I should lock these doors. Oh, man. And then, after that, I saw 5 bears run across the road. I'm like, did I pray Nafil today? Did I read Quran today? I gotta read more Quran during Ramadan. I gotta take advantage of all these blessings. So I'm freaking out because Yogi Bear and Boo Boo are about to have a janazah for me. So I'm freaking out because I'm about to die in this car. I'm like, where is this guy? He said it'd be 10 minutes, and now it's my janazah. What happened? And I'm freaking out, and then all of a sudden I hear this thundering noise in the background. And I hear this thundering noise, this loud rumbling. It gets louder and louder and louder. And I look behind me, and I see this giant tow truck pull out. So the mechanic came with this truck to move our car. And he gets, my friend Bassam, he gets out of the truck. And then the driver of the truck, the mechanic, he gets out. And to tell you guys about the mechanic, his name was Ken. And to tell you guys about Ken, this man had one of the most awesome mustaches I've ever seen in my entire life. Look at that! I'm convinced that that's not even a mustache. That's his lips being protected by the wings of an angel. It's beautiful. And so I'm just daydreaming about this man's mustache, hashtag goals. And it's beautiful. And so we get in the trunk with Ken. And my friend's name is Bassam Tark. He's a brilliant filmmaker, brilliant photographer. He took all the photos on the trip. And so we get in the trunk with Ken. And Bassam goes, hey Ken, can you smile for the camera? And Ken goes, I am smiling. So we pray with the Muslims there, we break our fast, and we're really stressed out because the next day on our trip, we have to go to North Dakota. So where North Dakota is, it's right here. So we're right here, we gotta go right there. And it's about an 8-hour drive. So Maghrib comes in at 8 o'clock to break our fast. And so the latest we can leave is 12 o'clock from Montana. So we get up super early in the morning, we go to the mechanic, he fixes the car, but he takes a long, long time. By the time he fixes the car, it's like 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We're like, we're gonna miss Maghrib. What do we do? We're supposed to go to this small city in North Dakota, and we can't meet the Muslims there. Like, we need a backup plan. What do we do? So I literally went on Google, because I didn't know any other Muslim community in North Dakota that was closer. So I literally went on Google and typed Muslims in North Dakota. And Google said back, did you meet Muslims in New York? Did you meet Muslims in Chicago? And I couldn't find anything. So I started searching and searching and searching on Google. And about 5 or 6 search entries down on Google, I found this guy who wrote a blog post. And according to his blog, the first masjid in the United States is in Ross, North Dakota, a town of only 38 people, and Muslims have been living there since the 1700s. Been there for more than 400 years. I'm like, what? I've never heard of this place. Like, who are these people? I've never heard anything about it. And so I'm trying to find a website about this place. There's no website. I'm trying to find a phone number. There's no phone number. And I didn't learn about this in school. I didn't learn about this at the masjid. Nobody told me about this place. So I can't find any information out. Where's the website? There's no phone number. And I'm literally, even on Facebook, I'm trying to search for every Abdullah, Muhammad, Nadia, Asma I can find in North Dakota. Nobody. So I don't know what to do. So I'm looking on Google Maps. I'm searching on Google Maps. I can't find the masjid. But I found a Muslim cemetery in Ross, North Dakota, the town of only 38 people. So I find the cemetery, and I figured if there's a cemetery in this small town for Muslims, there's got to be a masjid nearby. So there's not even an address for the masjid or for the cemetery. There was only an intersection that I found on Google Maps. So I said, okay, if I have an intersection, I can just put that in my GPS, and we'll just figure it out from there. So completely relying on some intersection on Google Maps, we drove 4 or 5 hours out to North Dakota. And North Dakota is another beautiful state, just a lot of farmland for kilometers and kilometers on end. But the annoying thing about it was there was no signs telling you where you're going. So I have no idea if I'm driving the right way. There's no gas stations I can ask for directions. So I'm completely relying on my phone to get us there in a 4 or 5 hour drive. So we're basically driving blind. So we're driving, and as I'm driving, my friend is trying to look up phone numbers on his phone, people to call, to ask for information. So we call the local politicians in town about, hey, is there a mosque there? They're like, I don't know what a mosque is, but I know what a church is. You want to call the church? I'm like, okay, cool. So we call the church. We're like, hey, is there a mosque there? They're like, I don't know. Do you know any Muslims? No. Well, actually, maybe. We know this woman. Her name is Lila. I think she's Muslim. Do you want to give her a call? I said, okay. Can we call her? And so he gives us the phone number. And it turns out that Lila was not only Muslim, she was the caretaker of the masjid. We're like, alhamdulillah, we found it. Awesome. So we call Lila. We talk to her. And she's like, oh, you guys want to meet tonight? I already have plans tonight, so I can't open the door at the masjid for you. I gotta be somewhere. But if you want to visit the masjid, you can take pictures from the outside. I just can't open the door for you. We said, okay, as long as you're welcome, and it's okay with you. Yeah, if it's okay, yeah, we'll go. And so she hangs on the phone. We get to North Dakota, and we get to Ross. And I just am just like, such a small town. How did Muslims end up here? How come they didn't come to New York, or Los Angeles, or Miami, Philadelphia, Chicago? Of all places, how did the first Muslim community in America end up in North Dakota, in the city of Ross, a town of 38 people? So I had all these questions. And so we get to Ross, and the sun is starting to set, and we still haven't found the masjid. We're like, oh man, we better hurry up. Maghrib's coming, gotta break our fast, gotta get a blog post up, we got a lot to do still. So we're driving around, and our GPS says, take a turn down this road. This is road covered with dirt. And take a final turn down this dirt road, and the intersection should be straight up ahead. So I take the turn, and I look all the way out into the horizon, and I see absolutely nothing. I just saw this empty land. I'm like, where's the masjid? I don't see anything. So we try to call Lila. She's not picking up her phone. She's probably breaking her fast or praying. So we don't know what to do. So my friend is getting annoyed. He's like, Aman, look what you did. This is all your fault. Why'd you have to run over that rock, Montana? We wouldn't be in this problem. And I'm like, oh yeah, your mama. And then I push him, and then he pushes me, and then I push him back, and then he punches me, and then I punch him back. We're yelling, we're shoving, we're fighting, we're punching and shoving and fighting and yelling and screaming and punching. And as we're yelling, shoving, punching, fighting, yelling and screaming in the car, I look out my window to the left, and I see this. And so we found the masjid, right? And so there's like the crescent and star, the symbol of Islam, with the gate. We opened the gate and we found the masjid. Like, here's a closer view of it. It almost looks like this masjid just fell straight from heaven, right? That Allah just dropped it onto this farmland. It was absolutely beautiful. And my friend was standing, somewhere around here, and he's like, Aman, check this out. I found the cemetery. Look at all these gravestones. And we started looking at the ground, and we saw things like Nazira Omar, born in 1908, Ahmed Jaha, a Korean War veteran. We found Muslims that were World War I veterans, World War II veterans, Muslims born in the 1800s, Muslims born in the 1700s. And of all places, they were living in North Dakota. And so I had so many questions. I didn't know anything about this. And I was so frustrated. And so finally, Lila calls us back. And I said, Lila, I know you can't meet with us tonight, but we have a few minutes in the morning before we leave. Can we ask you a couple questions? We just have a few questions about this place. So she agrees to meet with us in the morning. And so Lila shows us the masjid. It's a small little masjid, and Lila is 92 years old. And she is a 9th generation Muslim American. Her ancestors came in the 1700s. So I asked her the question that we all have, like, how did you guys end up here? Why not New York? Why not Chicago? Why not Los Angeles? Why not Houston, a big metropolitan urban city? And so she told us that her ancestors came from Lebanon and Syria. And in the 1700s and 1800s, the Ottoman Empire, modern day Turkey, was in its final years, right? And war was spreading out throughout the Middle East as they started conquering new territories. And so there were all these Lebanese and Syrian farmers. They didn't want to fight. Every man had to fight, but they didn't want to fight. They just wanted to farm. So they're trying to figure out a way to get out because they just wanted to farm. And everybody heard that in America, there was a law called the Homestead Act, where if you farmed the land in America for a few years, they gave it to you for free. So thousands of Lebanese and Syrian farmers came to places like Ross, North Dakota, Toledo, Ohio, Evansville, Indiana, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and they lived there peacefully for centuries. And their descendants still live there today. They can trace their lineage all the way back to the 1700s. And so I'm just fascinated by all this because I didn't learn about this. None of us knew about this. And I asked Lila this question. I said, okay, Lila, well, you went to school in the 1930s and the 1940s. In America, race relations between white people and black people were already bad back then. What was it like for you? In such a small town of 38 people, you're the only Muslim, you're the only Arab, you're the only non-white person in this entire town. You must have had lots and lots of racism, right? And she goes, nope, not a single time. What are you talking about, girl? Quit playing, quit lying, girl. You crazy. And she said, no, I never had any racism. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. In a hillbilly town with all these farmers, you had no racism? And she goes, yeah. Because at the end of the day, we were all farmers. It didn't matter what your skin color was or how you chose to express your love for God. At the end of the day, we were all farmers. And this was a story I kept seeing again and again and again. Wherever you travel around the world, there's a narrative that people hate Muslims. Muslims hate these people. These people are trying to attack those people. These people hate that people. And those things happen. Obviously, we saw what happened in New Zealand about a week ago. And all these horrible things, but what happened after New Zealand? You saw the Prime Minister. You saw thousands of non-Muslim women wearing hijabs saying, we are all Muslims today. People marching in the streets. And these stories that I kept seeing again and again in my travels to the 32 countries I've been to, I kept seeing these stories again and again and again. And I got really frustrated because what I was seeing on television was not the same thing I was seeing in reality. And so I started off being a comedian, and then I saw myself more as a storyteller because I kept hearing about these stories that people didn't know about, that I didn't know about, and I felt this obligation to get these stories out there. So before I was talking about how I was confused growing up. Am I Indian? Am I Muslim? Am I American? What am I? And I realized that I'm just the latest chapter on a book that's being written about our community. And I'm just chapter 2019. So I don't have to be just Indian or just Muslim, just American. Like, I am all of those things. Those are just adjectives that describe who I am. I'm Aman Ali. And these are all the things that I stand for. And all the things that are important to me. And I thought about it. Here we were driving all across America, pointing to all these different pieces of history. And I thought to myself, 50 years from now, 60 years from now, 70 years from now, when we die, when people start driving around, what are they going to point to about us? When they come here, what are they going to point and say, oh, this was where Muhammad did this or this, that. What are the stories about ourselves that we're going to tell? Well, how do we want to be remembered? Not for recognition or praise or this or that, but what are the stories that we're going to leave behind in chapter 2019? How are we going to tell that story for future generations to change and appreciate? There's one thing I want to show you though. And there's a moment where I really realized the power of telling stories. And it happened when I was in Germany. I was in Germany, and I got a note saying that I had a show over there in the Babylon Theater. The Babylon Theater, according to history, during the time of the Nazis and Adolf Hitler, they used to use this theater for Nazi propaganda, to brainwash people into supporting the Nazis. And then when the Nazis were defeated, and after the Cold War, this theater was used as a place for intellectual dialogue. and they brought people from all over the world, like Nelson Mandela, Desmond Tutu, and then they brought this bald-headed dancing monkey to speak for some reason. So it was a huge honor and a blessing to be able to speak there. But I got an email about a week before the event from the U.S. Embassy in Germany. They said, Aman, you should cancel your event. And I was like, why? He said, well, there's a group of neo-Nazis that are doing a protest separate from your event, but they're protesting, and it's not safe. You know, we can't provide security, we're not organizing your event, but you should cancel. It's not safe. You shouldn't go to Germany. And I said, well, why should we punish the organizers who worked so hard to sell out this event and sell all these tickets and people are excited for this show? Why should we punish all of those people for some idiots that are outside doing whatever? Like, let them do whatever. Like, I don't dictate, I'm not going to be dictated by bullies that do horrible, hateful things. That's a narrative that I don't acknowledge. And so we did the event. And alhamdulillah, the crowd was really fun, and I was goofing off on stage, and I started telling a couple stories. I can't remember the exact joke I said, but I was talking about my dad. My dad, very similar to your dad. My dad was very strict on me growing up. You know, he'd look at my report card, he'd look at my grades, he'd be like, you got a B? How come this isn't an A? And then I get an A, and he's like, you got a 92%? Why not 100%? And then I get 100, he's like, you got 100? Why are you taking such easy classes? Why do you have so many A's? Like, Dad, come on! Come on, man! And I'll get so mad. And I used to get into fights with them all the time over this. And I remember one time when I was a kid, my dad, nothing I do is ever good enough for you. It's never too much. It's never too high. It's always too low. It's never good enough. It's never perfect. Nothing I do is ever good enough. Why do you keep doing this? It's not fair. Why do you keep doing this? And he told me this story that I'll never forget. My dad's from India, and he went to school in India, went to engineering school, and he became a civil engineer. His job was designing bridges on roads. He would design all these beautiful bridges. And then when he came to America in the 1970s, his degree didn't mean anything. And so he couldn't get any work. So he had to support his kids, so he got a job cleaning toilets at Dunkin' Donuts, the donut place. And so then went from that to become a manager, then owned a few donut stores. And he told me, he's like, look, I don't regret making that sacrifice, because alhamdulillah, I raised sons that became doctors and bald-bearded monkeys. So I don't regret that. I'm proud of that. But I'll be honest, every time I drive on the highway and I'm driving on a bridge, I get a little sad, because I think that could have been me. That could have been me that designed that bridge. And the reason why I push you so hard to keep succeeding, because I never want you to feel like that could have been me. I wish I did that project. I wish I designed that app. I wish I opened that business or did this or did that. I never want any of you boys to ever feel like that could have been me. So I keep pushing you to be the best you can be, because I never want you to feel what I feel, because I've carried this in my whole life, this pain that could have been me. So I'm on stage and I'm telling this story, and the show finishes. And after the show, a group of neo-Nazis were in the audience and stood up and came towards me. I'm like, okay, my janaza is happening again. So I'm freaking out, and all the organizers are gone. I'm like, okay, thanks guys. So they're not even gonna pray at my janaza. So I'm freaking out, and they had all the Nazi tattoos and swastikas all over. So I'm really scared. And the leader of the group, he comes up to me, and his name was David. And David tells me, he's like, hey man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm afraid of you guys. I was afraid of you guys because I never met a Muslim before, but I saw what was happening on TV and all these things, and I heard that there was a Muslim in town, and we came because we wanted to check what is this all about. And hearing these stories about you, about your life, I feel ashamed to have ever been afraid. And he told me this story that his dad is from Poland, European country, and he's an immigrant. And his dad had a similar story about how he sacrificed his job in Poland to work in a factory in Germany. And he would push David the same way my dad would push me. And I'll never forget this. David says, hearing the story about your dad makes me want to go home and give my dad a hug. And I told David, I said, the fact that you just said that makes me want to go home and give my dad a hug. And I called my dad that night, and I said, Dad, this is the most beautiful bridge you've ever designed. No road, no highway, no material stones you could have built would be as beautiful and magnificent as the bridge that you just built here tonight. And these are the stories that I wanted to tell, not Muslim stories or Islamic stories or this or that. I wanted to tell stories that make us human. Because in my opinion, the beauty about Islam is like a clear river. It is pure, it is clear, and just like the river, when rivers go over different rocks, it reflects those colors, right? So Islam is not an Arab religion. So when we're here in Malaysia, Islam here is Islamic, it's Muslim, but it's also very distinctively Malaysian, right? We shouldn't try to be Arab or even try to be American or try to be Chinese or Australian. We should all be Malaysian, right? And if you don't want to, you can be whoever. The beauty about Islam is no matter where you are, what you believe, people just make Islam work for them. Not everybody dresses this way or acts this way or behaves this way, but everybody makes Islam work for them. And that's one of the things that I wanted people to understand about my life and my stories. And I realized that with the power of storytelling, we can talk to you guys a little bit now. The power of stories work in any field, right? I'm here as an entertainer, I'm here as a performer, but here even in IT and even in tech, you have to tell a story. Anybody designing like products or designing apps? Anybody doing apps or like what kind of work do you do? Corporate communication. So you're telling stories. You're telling stories about your company, and you're getting stories out there. Like what do you do? Yeah. What do you? Sorry, you do what? Key and data. So with that, you're always telling stories. When you're working with a team and you're working on a project, you're telling a story of why we're doing certain projects, right? And so that's the power of storytelling. It brings people together, no matter what field. If you run a business, you're telling a story of why customers should come to your store and sign up with you guys. If you're here providing a service, you're telling clients why they should use your products and not other people's. If you're a lawyer, you tell a judge why they should support your client and not the other person. If you're a doctor, you're telling a story about why they should get this surgery and not put it off. If you're a parent, you're telling a kid a story about why they need to go to bed at 9 o'clock because shaitan is going to eat them in their sleep. It's all stories, right? We come from cultures, we are human beings, we're natural storytellers, right? We come from cultures that tell beautiful stories. Islam, the Quran is a collection of stories. Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, these are all stories that the companions told about Prophet Muhammad. So this is who we are. So when I call myself a storyteller, like we are all storytellers, and each in our different ways. And you can use storytelling as a way to bring people together. You can use humor to lighten the situation. And it's a way to share those common experiences. So maybe you're dealing with a client that doesn't know anything about your products, but you get a chance to understand their story. Anybody deal with a lot of clients? Any like client relationships? What kind of product? What kind of work? What kind of companies are here?
Mostly IT.
IT.
Yeah.
So when you say IT, like what? When you're doing infrastructure, you're doing networking.
Yeah, I mean for CVC, we are using system.
Systems.
Yeah.
Do you work with other companies?
Yeah, we do with outside vendors. Yeah.
Okay. So when you're working with vendors, you got to tell the story.
Yeah, exactly.
What are we doing? What are we building? Right? And then when you have a team in here, if you're a leader, you got to tell a story of this is the project we're following. And if you want to move, you want to get a promotion, you want to move up in a company, you have to tell a story about how I started here and my goals are up here. And so you always have to ask yourself, what is the story that I want to tell about myself? How do I want people to know me? And where do I want my story to end? I'm here in this job and I want to work in this position. So how do I articulate and tell that story? Any questions or anybody have any things they want to talk about or any comments about anything? Anybody have any ideas on how they could use storytelling in their jobs? So how do you think you could use storytelling and key data? So tell me a story. So tell me a story about what you do. So I don't know what key data is. So what is that? What does that involve? Okay. So let me ask you this. What do you enjoy about this work? What's your favorite thing about showing the work? To take your bosses out here. It's not stressful, people are friendly, you like the people you work with. Okay. So the story she's telling, so now I can appreciate what she's doing. She told me a story, because at first she said, I do data 19. I'm like, okay, I don't really find that interesting. But then she said, like, I like the environment here. I like showing up to the people that are here. So she's telling a story about this company. When you're recruiting people, you're trying to tell a story of why they should come to this company. And that person you're interviewing is telling a story of why they need to be a part of the team. So everywhere you go, there's a story. And so ask yourself, in the jobs that you're doing, what is the story I'm telling myself of why I like to be here, right? What are the things that I enjoy? So if you like the company, maybe your story is, you know what, I like this input, but my goals is maybe being a manager and working with people, a project manager, because I like bringing people together. I like building those relationships. I'm not saying you should do that, but maybe that's what you're passionate about. So ask yourself, what are the stories that make me happy here? Anybody else want to share what they do? So your corporate communications, what do you do? Okay. What do you love about corporate communications? Okay. Okay. Let me ask you this, because I'm sure there's lots of similar companies here in Malaysia. What makes working here special? What makes you guys different? Maybe not, I don't like saying better or worse, but what makes it beautiful, special about working here? What is the story about this place that makes it beautiful? Okay. Anybody else agree that this is a family environment? Everyone's very friendly and with one another, you feel supported? So that's a story that's important to not only just tell the outside world, but it's a story to make sure that everybody here believes, right? And so when even little things like how you arrange your desks, make sure it tells that story that everybody's a family. How the work setup, the break room, even events like this, like you want events that build that family, you know? And so you want to keep that family environment. So that's a beautiful thing. So as you're thinking about, you know, expanding, bringing new staff in, the kinds of people you're looking for, you want people that are those family type of people, those team players, right? You don't want someone that just shows up to work, does a job, and then leaves, right? They'll work fine here, but they're not going to get the full benefit of being in this environment, right? And so, anybody work in recruiting or human resources that interviews people? Okay, so when you interview someone, let's say they have good qualifications, but what are some of the things that you look for when you make a hire?
Basically, we are looking for the qualification, the knowledge, the skill, then the potential itself, how they communicate, how they are thinking, how they are analytical, the communication. This is everything that we are looking for. Who will meet the post. If there's something that are manageable, we need to know how they handle the situation, how it's a good to be a leadership. This is something that we are looking for. In additional, based on experience and skill. This is the one key.
That I'm so glad you said that because basically you're looking for someone who tells a good story. A resume is a story. So when you look at your resume and you're looking for new promotions and opportunities and other opportunities, things like that, what is the story you're putting out there? How do you want people to know about you as opposed to someone else? Make sure you tell a story about yourself that's different. Because I'm sure you get hundreds of applications, but it's those special stories that stand out, right? And when you're working here and you're looking for a promotion, you're trying to show that I'm the person that deserves this raise or this benefit or this promotion. So you're trying to tell that story that makes you stand out. So that's the thing you always want to work on every single day. Short term, what is the story that makes me happy when I show up to work? But then long term, why do I want to grow in this company? Where do I want to be? And so those are all ways to tell stories. And so she said that as someone that interviews people, that's what she's looking for are good stories. I'm sure there's people that are very qualified, but they just wouldn't fit here. They might have the best skills, the best education, but if they don't have any social skills, or they're really nervous, or aren't willing to talk about their goals, you may be like, maybe this isn't for you. They're not bad at their job or anything. It's like, man, this is not what we're really looking for. Because we can hire thousands of people with good skills. Now, skills is easy. You gotta educate. There's thousands of people. You guys are here because you're the best of the best, right? You're in that family environment. There's a certain person that fits what you're looking for. So always think about that in your careers. Any other jobs you guys want to share? So we have some corporate communication, we have some data, we have human resources. Anybody else? What do you guys think?
Recorders.
Oh, you're recorders as well? So we talked about family environments. Anything else you like about this job? Good benefits, good pay. So that's okay. It's okay to like money. It's okay you're loud. And that's good because you can have a stable life, take care of yourself. Do you have a family or not yet? Gotta eat. Gotta eat more. Gotta start cooking dinner. But now it puts you in a position to one day, save money, and then inshallah, when you do have a family, you're able to support it, right? So that's a story about what makes you happy. So it's okay to be like, I like this job because it pays well, because I don't have to stress out about my bills or this or that. I can live in a nice place and still save, for my future. So that's a story, that makes you happy. We'll do a few more. Anybody else? Other positions they have here? What do you do here? Oh, same thing? Do you guys all work in the same department? Yes. And then all you guys work in the same department? Any other different departments? What do you work in?
Corporate communication.
Okay. What inspired you to get into corporate communications? You could have done anything. You could have been a doctor, a lawyer, engineer. When you were younger, what made you say, this is what I want to do?
Basically, because I'm studying communication, so definitely I'm using the
Okay.
communication field.
But why do you want to study communications?
But because based on my result, because I get result for my higher education. So
That's great. It's something you're good at. It feels good to do something that you're good at and grow in the field. That's great. So it's always articulating that story. And that's how we find happiness. We ask ourselves, what makes us happy? Why are we good at what we do? What makes us passionate? What gets us excited in the morning to get up and come to work, right? And if you don't feel happy, and if you are frustrated, stressed out, we all have those days, ask yourself, what can I do to make me feel fulfilled? Right? For me, it was storytelling. I love making jokes and making people laugh, but it was this kind of stuff. It was being able to connect with human beings, people from different walks of life. Those are the stories that I like to tell. And that was the story I told myself. I realized what my place was in this world. And it's a way for me to do something that matters. And what you guys do is very important. You may feel like, this is just boring and I'm here for 10 hours, this and that. But you're doing a job that is important to society. It's important to companies. And it helps you raise a family, support people. Those are beautiful stories, right? You're taking care of people and you're starting a new generation and you're doing things. And so those are stories. And those are the things that help you feel fulfilled. Because if you stare at a computer all day, that doesn't make you happy. But it's the work you do, the people that you do.
do another visit to that.
So we went to every state in America. I'll share with you one more story.
Oh, okay.
Anybody know this guy? Malcolm X, right? And obviously we know who Malcolm X is, one of the most incredible human beings. And I've read his autobiography, I've seen the speeches, but I wanted to know more about him. And so I wanted to visit, because he died only in the 1960s. And so I wanted to meet people that knew Malcolm X. Because I read the books, I've read every article that's out about him and this and that, but I just want to meet people that mostly like him, to know him. And so in Harlem, New York, I went to the Malcolm X Masjid. Beautiful masjid. And so what was beautiful about what Malcolm X did, when they built masjids, they would go into neighborhoods that had lots of crime, lots of drugs, lots of whatever, and they would kick everybody out, and they would transform the neighborhoods. So they would build masjids, but the thing they also did was they would buy all these properties. So all the rent from all these apartments and restaurants and buildings pays for the masjid. So there's no donation box in the masjid because all the profit from all this pays for that. So they have a full-time Islamic school, all paid from the rent, no fundraising. They have a domestic violence shelter for women, all paid for through that. A place for the homeless, a place for the soup kitchen. All these programs are all financed through that. And so I was there one day, and I talked to some of the people in the masjid. Some of these elderly men and women, they're like in their 70s and 80s, and they knew Malcolm X. And so I asked them, I was like, so what was it about him that made him special? I know the speeches, I know the books, I know all that, but what was he like on a day-to-day basis? What was it like hanging out with him? And they told me something really interesting. They said, it wasn't just the speeches. It was the fact that he would say, okay guys, we're gonna do a halakha, we're gonna read Quran on Monday. And then on Tuesday, I'm gonna teach you about finance, how to save your money. On Wednesday, I'm gonna teach you physical fitness and how to stay in shape. On Thursday, we're gonna teach you how to write a job resume. On Friday, we're gonna teach you about nutrition, how to put healthy things in your body. And so people have told me the reason why we kept coming back to the masjid is because, not just because of being in our religion, because we were getting in better shape, our bodies were fit, our minds were fit, and our pockets were getting fatter with money. Like we were all succeeding in every possible way. Because Malcolm realized that to truly feel close to Allah, you have to be in sync with your body, mind, and soul. Everything has to be aligned. And so those are the things he preached. He made sure that the community took care of one another. The masjid was a place where everybody could benefit from different walks of life. Maybe they need help with a job, finding a job resume. Okay, sister, we'll help you fill this out. I'm out of shape and I've been really tired. Okay, brother, let's work on this. I'm really depressed. Okay, brother, I know a therapist, you can talk to them and help you through those times. So a masjid was a place that truly helped uplift every single person. And again, it was addressing the needs of the community, no matter where people were, made Islam work. And so a few blocks over from this place was a masjid called the Mosque of Islamic Brotherhood. And that's Imam Talib Rashid. And so I was there at the masjid. And I looked outside the masjid. And there was this is the road. And I noticed that the sidewalk was green. So I was like, Chef, why did you paint the sidewalk green? Why is it all green? So Imam Talib and the other imams there, they were all students of Malcolm X. So they told us that they opened up this masjid in the 1970s. And in this neighborhood, there was a lot of drugs, there was a lot of gangs, and a lot of crime when they opened up the masjid. And a lot of women and children, when they walked inside the masjid, they feel really scared because there was all this like gangs and drugs outside. So the Muslims did, what they did, they painted the sidewalk green. And they told all the drug dealers and all the gangs, you guys do that stuff over there on that side of the street. You come on our side of the street, you come on this green sidewalk, we will fight you, we will knock you out. And they would. If there was a drug dealer on the street, they'd knock the dude out, like, get off our sidewalk. And so what happened, the sidewalk became more and more and more green because they kept pushing all the criminals out, all the drug dealers out, this and that. And they were very firm in that. And so slowly, the entire neighborhood was painted green over time. And so the Imam was telling me the story that I hear again and again at this masjid, that one day, I was late at night, and there was a drunk man that was walking in the street, he was very drunk, and then he passes out. And he falls to the ground, and he realizes that he was on the green sidewalk, and out of respect, he rolled into the street because he knew this was not a space that he should touch. These are the things that Muslims were known for. Muslims were known for excellence and discipline and being great, right? Being a Muslim in this neighborhood means something. So when there's a non-Muslim woman walking down the street, a Muslim will walk up to her and go, "Excuse me, do you need any help walking home? Do you need an escort? Can I help you carry your bags?" Not because that guy's trying to get her phone number, it was just out of adab and out of respect to take care of people in the neighborhood. And for these people, it wasn't just about preaching Islam or converting people or this or that. They saw or they see their responsibility to all of humanity, to take care of everybody. Because everybody is Allah's creation. Everybody is Ummat Rasulullah. Like everybody, Muslims, Christians, Jews, Hindus, atheists. It's not just, oh, we just help Muslims. We're here to support everybody, right? Not to convert them. Allah calls who He wants to call, right? That's not, we shouldn't just help people hoping that they convert or this or that. That's not how we play things. We do things out of the goodness of our own heart. And this is what they did. And this is to me where Islam, because growing up when I was a little kid, I was Muslim, I was proud to be Muslim, but the way I was taught Islam was, do this because Allah said so. Do this because Allah said so. If you don't, you're going to hell. So there was no understanding that I had as a kid. But then here, Islam is a verb. It literally means to submit, right? And this is where I saw Islam as an action. Islam was an action. These people lived Islam. They didn't just believe Islam and follow Islam. They acted Islam. They followed Islam. It was a verb. It was very active. And these are the times when Islam started to make sense to me. It's not just a thing you memorize and then go home, just show up on Friday and then go home. It was something that was Sunday through Saturday, every single day of the week. And even through little actions like this, right? And so every time I come to New York, or every time I have a friend that comes from out of town to come to New York to visit, I always come to this sidewalk. And I always ask myself, 50 years from now, 60 years from now, what are they going to point to about us? What are they going to say, oh, this is where Aman did this, or this is where the Muslims here did that. Now I'm here pointing to the sidewalk talking about this story. Think about, in your communities here in KL, what are the stories they're going to say about you and your community? What are they going to point to? What stories are they going to share? So think about that today and in the coming days of how do I want people to know about us? Not just you, it's not about being praised or this or that, but how do you want the future to look back on us as something? And so, yeah, we did go to North Dakota, but we wanted to continue to tell about other stories because I feel that I get really frustrated with Islamic history because when we teach Islamic history, we talk about the Prophet ﷺ, of course, we talk about the Khalifas, of course, we talk about the Ottoman Empire, but then we say that it stops. What about the 1900s? What about the 2000s? What about all this incredible stuff that's been happening for the past 200, 300 years? Islamic history didn't stop in the 1800s with the Ottomans. It's still continuing. What about Islam here in Malaysia? What about the communities? It's taught in the past, but it's also in the present. It's also in the future. Why? Islam is an active religion. It's not an old religion. It's not an ancient religion. It's one in 2019. Yes, we got to appreciate where we came from, and we use that to form where we're going. But I get really mad that we don't hear stories like this. And I'm sure there's beautiful stories of things happening here in Malaysia, even in the past 100 years. And those stories need to be told. And kids need to appreciate that. And so for me, I became proud to be a Muslim because I saw that I'm just the latest chapter on a book. I felt connected to it. I didn't see this as a religion for Arabs 1,400 years ago, right? Islam just happened to be revealed to a tribe of Arabs, but it was revealed for all of mankind, right? And so that's why I always say, like, no matter where you are, be that river and reflect those rocks that make up who you are. Anybody else? Cool. Well, thank you for putting this together. I appreciate it. You guys have a question?
What's your view about Islam used to be the cradle of civilization, but now we are the perspective. I mean, the perception is we're just throwing rocks, whereas all the infidels have great technology.
See, I strongly disagree with that because I think we still are. I still think we are the best of creation, and not in a way that other people are bad, but we have the potential. There are incredible things that are happening. Look what's happening again. It was a terrible tragedy that happened in New Zealand, but the reason why so many people stood up to support Muslims is they knew Muslims. Like, hey man, my friend's Muslim. My friend is great at doing this. Look at the U.S. The Women's March happened all over the world. It was organized by a Muslim woman. This our story is a Palestinian woman that lives in Brooklyn, New York. She helped organize that. There's 4 million people all over the world marched in more than 100 countries, even here in Malaysia. And so Muslim people are doing excellent things. We're winning Nobel Peace Prizes. Do you follow soccer at all? Football? Anybody fans of Liverpool? Mohamed Salah is the biggest star in soccer. Now keep in mind, Liverpool, England, where it's all white people, and they chant, you've seen this, they go, Mo Salah is going to score a goal or two, and if he scores a goal or two, I will be a Muslim too. They all chant this. All these white people say, I will be a Muslim too.
Actually, it's created them to find out more about Islam.
Yeah. Every time him and Mane, when they score a goal, they get down and do sajda. And you see little non-Muslim kids getting down and doing that. And there's so many examples of that. So we are the cradle of civilization. We just have to realize that. That's never changed. We just have started to believe that, oh, we suck. And we all feel that. We've all felt those things. And I've gone through those things. And I just keep seeing stories like this all over the world. I'm like, no, there's great things happening here in Malaysia. I've been here for about a week. I'm like, wow, this is really incredible. And people need to realize that. And so nothing has changed. It's just the mindset that has changed. And people have taken that away from us. People have torn it down and this and that. And so I'm the kind of person, we each have the power to tell those stories. How do you want to be remembered? If you want to be remembered as a lame, or weak community, that's the story that people want to tell. But tell the story of excellence. We all are doing incredible things. You guys are all doing incredible work here, right? And it's important that people know that. Being Islam, like in this neighborhood, means something. Muslims are known for excellence. And I always tell people, be known for excellence. What are we known for in Malaysia? Double parking at Jumlah. We're known for we don't want to be known for that. We want to be known for having the most beautiful buildings, the most beautiful people, the most beautiful cultures, the best at jobs, the CEOs, the most excellent, the most disciplined. Those are the things. So we have the power to change those narratives, right? And Prophet ﷺ was known as the best of mankind, not just the best Muslim. So he was respected by the non-Muslims because of his character, because of his integrity. So in these jobs, be the best, corporate communicator you can be, the best HR person, the best person. No, and that's dawah in itself, just being excellent. So yes, sometimes we do feel like that we used to be this and now we're this. But I'm telling you, that's never changed. We have the potential to be great, but we have to start seeing that in ourselves.
One thing though, it's different in somehow. It's totally different.
How's it different?
They still live in the past. They teach Islam by fear. If you go to the madrasa, it's like fear, not by understanding.
Sure.
So, for example, my brother had 5 days to start because he asked this kid, do you pray? The kid is not sick. Yeah, but that particular day he did. Sure. But they will start going, my brother, keep on. No, it's not. We don't want people like you. Because the boy has answered you honestly. They teach you by fear. They still live in the past. Past Muslim glories. But the Hindus are going further ahead. Sure. Hindu boy working looking after our farm. He's just looking after one mango orchard. He got his master's degree by distant learning. Most of the kids, the girls are very good in studies. The boys get, peer pressure, they get this and that. But unfortunately, the girls get married off at an early age. It's not real. Maybe it's at the middle class family, yes, upper class. But majority, that's the sad thing about it.
It is. And actually, I can share with you another story. We do need to create.
The other thing is, Aman,
Yes,
we live in the past.
we do.
It's not because what we are now. What we are now is because faith has made us aware, and time has made us big. Because why? We are not united in the first place.
Sure.
This is the basic thing. Sometimes, like my colleague as usual, we are Western educated. I'm sure all these guys are here. But what we see in our cities, and we learn a lot from the non-Muslims, rather than we learn from our Muslim brothers or sisters, you know what I mean? So we need to change the mindset.
So I agree with you, and I think that we pick and choose what in the past we accept. For example, a story that I always use, because we need to create, in my opinion, whether it's religious spaces or workspaces or masjids or organizations, we need to create spaces that are inclusive of everybody. If somebody says they're Muslim, they're welcome there. If they're not Muslim, they're welcome here too, right? And that sounds like common sense, but a lot of us don't practice that. But I'll give you an example. So during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there was a man who was drunk and he was urinating in the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ and the companions wanted to beat him up. And the Prophet ﷺ said, okay, let's not condone, don't let him urinate, but if he wants to be here, he has the right to be here. Of course, don't let him be destructive. And so he was always about creating these inclusive spaces. So if a boy is doing whatever and acting up, don't promote that behavior, but if he wants to be here, you have to help him feel welcome. So in California, we went to what we call the Talib Collective. And we went there, and they have a very simple philosophy. And it says, come as you are to Islam as it is. And let me break that down. So come as you are is a lyric by the band Nirvana. Come as you are. So they say, come as you are. If you're Muslim, you're welcome. As long as you say you're Muslim, you're welcome here. And if you're not Muslim, you're welcome here too. But come as you are to Islam as it is. The second part's important because it says, whatever you do outside, if you smoke, you party, you drink, you do whatever, we're not promoting that behavior. We're not condoning that. But leave that negative energy here. This is a place of love. This is a place of sacred knowledge, so please respect that space. Don't talk bad about people here. Don't tear people down. Leave all that negative energy here. This is a sacred space. And they believe that the Imam there, Osama Cannon, he said a beautiful thing to me. He said Islam is a very personal relationship between a human being and Allah. And the 99% of the problems in our communities are, we try to dictate how we should have that relationship. So he said, I'm here to get out of the way. Get out of the way of your relationship with Allah. And I want to help bring you closer. So we should focus on that. When a lot of people come to the masjid, they feel drained. You know, it's like a courthouse. Sister, your hand are showing, brother, you need to sit like this. Brother, you need to do this. Brother, you need that. And you're just exhausted.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And what they do here is we're here to help bring you closer to Allah. We're not here to give you dirty looks. This is a place where you should feel closest to Allah. I know people that say, I found Allah by leaving the masjid, which is sad. Which is sad to say.
You can't blame them though.
Yeah, of course.
You can't blame them.
So I was there, and this guy is actually a hafiz of Quran, and his name is Stephen. And so what's interesting is I'm praying next to Stephen, and he's got his little tattoos and everything. And then next to him was this Salafi-looking dude with like a long beard and his pants rolled up. And then next to him was this guy with a basketball jersey and a bunch of chains and a backwards hat. And the three of us are all praying next to each other. And we would look so weird to anybody anywhere else, but here, everybody's welcome. Nobody gives you dirty looks. We're all here to come closer to Allah. And that's what these spaces should be. So I'm there, and I'm talking to this guy, Jason Calibo. Really, really cool guy. He designs video games for a living. He works for Sony, making games for PlayStation. And so we're nerding out about video games, and then we just talk about life. And he's like, think about this, man. We as human beings, over centuries, have gathered so much filth in our heart, added so much junk and so much garbage. And Islam is supposed to be that system that liberates us of all of that strips us down to our core, that brings us down to our fundamentals. So if you actually look back at our history, Islam was that faith that brought people together. People pick and choose and they focus on the things that are about control and about discriminating and putting people down and this and that. So they use Islam as a weapon and not as a place of love. And that's wrong. And so I always tell people, if you're actually studying the history, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. So we're talking about this. We're talking about Islam being this, it's so simple, it's so beautiful, but we as human beings make it so complicated. So I'm having this beautiful conversation with him. I was like, wow. And then he leaves. And then that night, I have to put a blog post up after Tarawih prayer. And there's just so much I want to say and so much to talk about. I'm like, yo, where do I even begin? There's so much happening here. So I don't know where to begin. And it's about 1:30 in the morning. Man, I gotta get this blog post up. I'm gonna get mad. I gotta hurry. And Jason comes back into the masjid. And he was like, hey, bro, I forgot to ask. You should come to my wedding. And I was like, oh, thank you, but I don't live here. I'm from out of town. I'm on this road trip. I'm going to a different masjid in every state, every day. So I'm leaving after Fajr. And he's like, no. Come to my wedding. I'm like, thanks, bro, but I can't stay any longer. Oh, is it like tomorrow? Thank you, but I'm not going to be here. No. It's happening right now. And so this woman comes in. The Imam comes in. He's like, yeah, I need a witness. Can you do my nikah? So at 2 o'clock in the morning, I was the witness for April and Jason at their wedding. And we had the walima at Burger King because it was the only thing that was open. And to be honest with you, it's the most beautiful wedding I've ever been to. It was the most spiritually rich and spiritually beautiful wedding I've ever been to. You know, we go to weddings, and like I've been to weddings where it's like in these fancy halls, and I went to a wedding, they spent like 80,000 ringgit just on like flowers. It didn't even look that cool. Like I'd be more impressed if they just had a box with 80,000 ringgit in it. And I'm like, wow, those guys have 80,000 ringgit, that's impressive. But it's just the most ridiculous material stuff. So Islam is that system that brings us down to those fundamentals. So to your point, I don't think people actually do study the history, they pick and choose. They create this fictitious world where everything's so serious and so angry, but in reality, Islam was a very democratic, inclusive, and a loving place where it brought people from all different walks of life, men and women, right? And so people create this fictional Marvel universe where everybody is angry and putting people down, and that's just not what Islam was. Islam was a faith, and it is a faith. I don't use that in the past tense. It was a faith that brought people together, time and time again. But that doesn't fuel people's agendas and people's narratives. So I see what you're saying, people did do that. But I always counter that.
I mean, I don't know about America. I always tell my brothers, whenever I go to India, so the first one, he's pretty good, very worldly. My mom's a very pious woman, not educated. My father, I was very lucky, he was studying for a month. But you know what? I'm grateful that my parents are very broad-minded. They were not educated. I'm grateful that they taught me a lot of things to accept people for what they are, you know, and learn from them. But then it upsets me when I see other Muslims talking negatively, you know what I mean? Huh? And they're still living in the past. We were this, yeah, you were this before, but you're not now, man. Move on. You know, don't worry about what's happening in all these things. First of all, resolve your problem in your society, in your community first. Only then you can solve problems worldwide.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Why worry about something that's not related to you?
And I agree with you. And that's why I tell people, like, yes, we were this, and we can still be this.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like, yes, we were the best architects, the best poets, the best musicians, the best fashion designers and mathematicians. And now we can still be all those things, and we can be the best architects. We can be the best IT professionals. We can be the best CEOs, the best business keepers, the best athletes. Like, we all can be that. What's stopping us? We have the numbers. There's 2 billion Muslims around the world. We're the wealthiest ethnic group in pretty much every country. We have the most wealth, the most talent, the most resources. We have the best universities. We have the best grades. So there's no excuses. So that's why I'm not saying you, but like when people say that, I strongly disagree because the talent is there. So when people say, oh, we were great, but now we suck, it's because our mindset sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
The talent is there.
Yeah.
The talent is clearly here.
It's the mindset.
The money is here, the resources. We have the opportunity to really lead by example. And you see non-Muslims standing up. You see more non-Muslims standing up for Muslims. It's a sad reality.
One question.
Yes.
That's why I agree with you. You normally talk about this thing. You think that the infidel countries are more Muslim than Muslim. I mean, like the Arabs, they don't have the people like Syrian refugees. Germany takes in these people.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of
Well, our citizens, right there for 20 years, 30 years. You know, that's in Saudi Arabia. Let me show you the country.
Yeah.
In America, you get it straight away. Singapore, you get it straight away.
Right.
London, Europe, you get it. It's not about color, it's not about religion. You know what I mean? It's not you.
Middle East will take like 20, 30 years.
So I think for another 50 years, maybe 100 years, you know, I just can't see things changing at all.
Sure. And the thing is, like, yes, there's a lot of frustrations all over the world, but I'm like, when we die, we're going to be held accountable for
Exactly what we done.
what we do. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure things were great then, but the world's still continuing. Like, Islam didn't end in the
Of course,
1800s.
of course.
So we could talk about 1800s and 1700s and, you know, the time of the Prophet ﷺ all we want, and as we should, but Islam didn't finish then. The world didn't end
Yeah, but
in 1800. It still
do we have a
continued.
voice? Do we have a voice?
Absolutely we do.
Do we have a one voice?
1000%.
One voice that speaks for everyone. Do we have someone that comes up and says to us, you know what's happening with what these guys are doing, ISIS are doing, it's not right, but we haven't heard from that. We only heard from the politician. We have not heard from the religious guy.
I understand that, but
Unless somebody says that, then there'll be a stop to
right, but you have to. Everybody has the opportunity to have a voice. The thing is, nobody's talking. People are just staying silent. Silence is the most dangerous thing. Prophet ﷺ said, like, if you see evil with your hand, if you see evil, change it with your hand. If you can't do it with your hand, do it with your voice.
You know what?
And if you don't do it, at least feel it in your heart, because that's the lowest level of faith. But just looking the other way, pretend like it's not even happening. What's up?
What you say is correct. But people don't do it in their own.
Exactly. And that's the
But
problem.
the thing is, they'll preach you one thing, you know, how to live as a good Muslim, and all that thing. Oh, another situation arrives. Then you see the truth.
But here's the thing, when you look at the greatest people in history, right? You look at Martin Luther King, you look at Malcolm X, you look at all these like beautiful leaders, Nelson Mandela. They were obviously incredible human beings, but what made them different than us was not because they were the best of the best people. They just had the will to do it. And if you look at their lives, they just got fed up and actually did something about it. The greatest inventors in history, Steve Jobs, Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, all these people had the desire to do it. They just had a delusional idea, you know what, I'm actually trying. And so, that's what I look at. And so, I don't like to tear people down and be like, oh, we suck, and we're not united, we're not this, we're not that. We have the opportunity to do things. I was a guy that had a crazy, I'm not anything special, but I had a crazy idea to get in a car and then just drive. And how about I change my life? You know, and people are like, oh wow, that's so cool, I could never do that. I'm like, yeah, you could. Get in a car and just go drive. Or go do this. You have an idea for an app? Go build an app. Save a little bit of money, try to build it, get a prototype, get some funding, do this, and then the rest is history. You hear all these stories about people start businesses, you know, in their basement or in their garage. Or you know, like, some people are like, oh, I'm 30 years old now, I'm 40 years old, it's too late, I wish I did that. Colonel Sanders was 65 years old when he opened up his first Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant. 65 years old. So it's never too late to make a difference. It's never too late to do change or do anything incredible. Not even just social justice, like create a new product, start a new business, start a new company. We all can do that. If you always want to design fashion, design it. So we all have the ability. The only difference is you have to have the willpower. The delusional idea of trying is what you need. And even in this field. You know, you might think, oh, there's a cool position, but I'll never get that because I work in this department. Go apply. Go apply for that job. Oh, they're looking for these skills. I'll never be able to get that. Go get a book. Go online and do a tutorial. Learn how to code. Learn how to do this. Go build it. Go try it. You never know until you try. And so I hear that, but we'll never have a voice until we actually speak. That's all you need.
We need that.
Just do it. It's that simple. It sounds ridiculous, but it really is that simple. When people got fed up, they actually did something about it. And so what I want to do is create a movement or be a part of a movement that encourages people to try. You have a crazy idea? You want to invent a robot? Go build a robot. You want to make movies? Go make movies. You want to be a football star? Go play football. You want to run for office? Go run for office. Go try it. You never know. And I think these are the things we need to create. Instead of tearing people, I'm not saying you, instead of tearing people down saying, we'll never do this, we used to be good, now we suck. Who would be motivated? You know? Who would be excited? Prophet ﷺ didn't say, oh, during the time of Musa, that's when we were great. He never said that.
Exactly.
He never said, oh, look at the time of, look at Isa. Oh man, look at Adam and Ibrahim. Look at what they did. He never spoke like that. He spoke about people in the community. He empowered them. He empowered his companions. He empowered Umar. He empowered Khadija. He empowered Aisha. And they were all warriors and all incredible people in their own rights. So we learn not only about the Prophet, but we learn about the companions. Because he entrusted them. He believed in them. And we have to start believing in one another. Even in this job, like, you have to start believing in your coworkers. Say, yeah, man, I know that project's hard, but I got this. You need me help? I got you. You know, you have to have that belief in people. It's incredible what people can do if you believe. And I was very fortunate that I had parents that pushed me and to do ridiculous things. They said, Aman, you want to go do this? Do it. Never feel like I wish I couldn't. As long as you don't feel like that, just keep going. And they've always been like that. And so I just don't find those conversations productive. We used to do this, now United. The same, it's just noise. It doesn't change anything. You know, and I just get fed up with that. I'm like, dude, stop talking, let's start doing it. Islam's not a verb of talking. Islam's not a religion of talking. It's a religion of doing things. That's why Islam is literally a verb, it's an action. And so people fed up, change it. That's how I see it. Anybody else?
So of all your trips, what's the best pearl of wisdom you share?
Wow. That's so tough. Honestly, no matter where I go, I think I get very hopeful for the future. When I travel all over the world, I see incredible things. I see beautiful things. I've been here in Malaysia for a week. This is my 4th time coming to Malaysia, and each time I come, I just feel more and more inspired because I see some really beautiful things. I was in JB, and I saw this incredible art that was being created. I see incredible work that's being done on the ground to work with young kids and believe in them, empower them. And so I guess my wisdom is don't underestimate the beauty that's being created. We can talk about all the fighting and all the bickering and this and that, but don't underestimate the power. We're all frustrated, so just do something with it. And so don't underestimate the power of your own potential. You know, the greatest people in history, Leonardo da Vinci, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, they weren't great just because they were great. It was because they practiced, they did it a lot. The best painters painted a lot. The best athletes practiced a lot. The best inventors, they kept building things. And so you keep doing what you're doing. It's just effort. It's a 10,000 hours theory. I don't know if you heard about that one. But the more you put into something, that's how you master it. It makes it much more cheap when you think like, hey, if I want to build an app or if I want to start a business, I gotta put my 10,000 hours into it. I gotta put the work and the effort into it. Because sometimes we look at successful people and we're like, oh man, I could never do that. Colonel Sanders was 65. Other people like they're broke, homeless. J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter, she was homeless. She was in her 40s. And Harry Potter is one of the greatest books literally in history now. And the movies have made billions of dollars. It's an entire universe. And it's brought all these kids to literature. She wrote in a coffee shop when she was homeless. And you hear these stories again and again and again, like we are those people. We could have been any of those people. Anybody else? Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys very much. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Well, we've got something for you from
Oh, wow.
our company. Just talking appreciation of our 20th anniversary. And all of the
Wow, this is beautiful. Thank you.
So,
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you so much.
appreciate it and really enjoyed the talk.
Thank you.
I think it's the best one we get a lot of people coming in, but the year was very engaging.
Wow, thank you very much. It's an honor.
Very enjoyable.
Very enjoyable.
Thank you.
Hopefully, wish we could have more hours, but unfortunately, there's more stories, but
Yeah,
the way it
no,
is.
good. How much? Yeah, we're just here hanging out. We're good on time.
Yeah, well, that's okay. We will
Yeah.
have lunch, and then those lunch for everyone already.
Okay.
So we can sit down, we can chat some more, and
Yeah, whatever you want, sure.
We just wait for.
Yeah, we're good on time, so I'm in a hurry.
And thank you very much, Aman.
Of course, no, thank you
Really
guys.
appreciate it. Yeah, come. Aman will take a group photo of everyone.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So my friend was on time. Did it not soon? He's nothing at all. Yes, but I think we misinterpreted. We did misinterpret it, but it's way away. And so, humanity, we follow humanity, we don't follow. It's not just something to do with exactly.
Itu je lah.
Come, Mother, come on, man. Come on. Okay, you ambil gambar. Gambar. You don't do it, huh? Take a few shots. Gambar. Come, siapa nak kamera sedang masuk dalam dah. Dia make it balance, because this side, some of you on this side.
She's like, I'm not so down.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Right. One more. 1, 2, 3.
You're not gonna put on your catfish tag.
Freestyle dengan kamu sama. I was waiting bila freestyle. As free as it gets.
Subtle dia, subtle.
As free as it gets.
Kucing ini potret.